guys, and welcome to the Seraphic Divine Podcast. Okay, so right now I am doing my first ever episode. I wanted to record on Instagram, but shit, it's impossible. Okay, it's very difficult to record Instagram and record here and simultaneously look at every every video screen. So I'm going to just record here and then I'll chop it up for myself in my background systems. Okay, so anyway, I want to kind of elaborate, kind of let you guys know what the Seraphic Divine Podcast is about. So in my journey to this point of my life, because it's been a hell of a journey, okay? I have gone through many trials and tribulations. I have become a new version of myself every couple years. I have upgraded, I have downgraded, upgraded, downgraded, and have finally found like a happy medium as to where I can exist and be myself. So on that journey, though, I have constantly remained true to my spiritual journey. So I have always known there was something beyond the idea or the concept around Jesus Christ. Excuse me. Around the concept around Jesus Christ and Christianity, which, my family, originates in this modern world. So I've always questioned, how do you explore a connection with something that you physically cannot see? So, in some capacity, one would say I was not atheist. I was just more inquisitive. So I needed the truth. I needed a basis. I needed something to go off of because what I was being told didn't validate me. It didn't give me satisfaction in my soul. So I went on through life and I kept, as more and more research became more available, I dug into it. So the first step for me was stepping into the realm of music and understanding that there was more beyond the music than we were actually of privy to. Like we didn't know that music belonged to the devil, or the personification, the concept of the devil, and that many people were using music as a tool, and they were using the celebrity status of certain artists and influential people as propaganda, as entertainment, but as a distraction as well. So that made me want to dig deeper, because if that was an illusion, there was many illusions that were taking place, not only in music, but in politics, in religion, in day-to-day life, that there were many illusions, and what we know today as, just systems that were implemented specifically as distractions. So I'm like, okay, I need to do my research. I need to tap in. I need to figure out what's what and what's not. So as I continue to deep dive into these things, I started coming upon a holistic path. So I started recognizing that healthcare was a system of destruction for my people, the oppressed indigenous people of the Americas. So I'm like, wow, like they won't offer us free healthcare in America because they don't want us to get it. They don't want us to have access to it. And that was very telling to me, okay, because they had done many experiments on us and used us as guinea pigs for a lot of the shit that they were rolling out as systems of mass destruction. Because what one understands of the mitochondria DNA is that it is the original DNA. It is the original imprint of the soul. So because the feminine genome has been in existence longer than the masculine, it carries different genetic information than the paternal lineage. And so they tested that out on a Black woman. And she had many, many, many different, they used her for many different tests to cure different, diseases, because she had what we call today as junk DNA that was actually active within her. So that made me do research on that in the, in the medical, and I took a step away from, trying to pursue something that I felt was more damaging than it was helping us. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to continue to be reliant upon the healthcare system if it's being made to the detriment of not just my people, but people in general. So this is not a podcast focused on bashing white people. Like, that is not my agenda, but the truth is the truth. So we have to be conscious and aware when we're discussing things that how the truth is being revealed to me is by way of my ancestors. And my ancestors are of indigenous descent to the Americas. They are what you would now call African American Blacks. So they're giving it from their perspective. I'm not receiving it from a white man's perspective or a white woman's perspective. I'm receiving it from my ancestral lineage. They're giving me cues and pointers and taking me down certain paths in order to reveal, in order to highlight how the past has impacted the present, but will impact the future. So, that was something that I first, outside of music and celebrity, because I've never worshiped anyone. I've never felt the need to, I don't know if this is a word, iconize, but I never felt the word to put a celebrity on a pedestal. Like, I always felt like these are other human beings. So what makes them more special than me? Like, why would I look up to someone or give someone my adoration when I can find things to love in myself and adore myself? So this is how I knew that I was separate from other people, because other people adore people to the point where they lose themselves in those people. So this is not me putting myself on a pedestal, but this is me telling and expressing my journey into this podcast and how this originated. So then I started wanting to know the origins of my people, my lineage. And Africa did not connect. It never connected. I never felt connected to Africa. Not one time. I always felt connected to the Native American ancestry, because that is my ancestry. It was stolen. It was hijacked. And so that is why I always felt like my people didn't come from Africa. And I wasn't saying it as an insult to any Africans or anybody that came from that continent, because they're not considered Africans. They are considered connected to their tribal land. Congo, Nigeria, Sudan, Mauritius, these places are all independent, countries. So they don't call themselves African. They speak relatively to their tribes. And so that was something that ignited me. Like, they don't even call themselves Africans. And they don't get classification here as African American. They are considered white. In America, they are considered white. So their citizenship, their status is different than Blacks, African Americans in this country. They were born here. They have a different status, a different stature, which is elevated higher in classism and classification than we do. So I was like, whoa, there is a lot of hidden shit. There's a lot of underlying wording, a lot of double speaking taking place that is preventing us from really breaking through the illusion, because we're constantly being bombarded with fabrications, with more and more illusions, multi-layers. Okay. And this is something that demons play in. This is how demons deceive you, by creating a false reality for you, by giving you the truth in a false reality. So it's like, yes, there are truth to some of the illusions, but it's not real. It's not actually something that is taking place right now in this moment that is impenetrable. Like it's not something that you cannot break through. It's not something that you cannot choose to see. It's something that your ignorance is causing you, your cognitive dissonance is causing you to ignore. So I'm like, okay, nah. If there's a reason why this awakening has taken place for me and why I am more inclined to pursue action towards gaining more information. So after I, regained some understanding of my lineage and my people, we're healers. I have healers in my bloodline. I have medicine men, medicine women in my bloodline. I have, magicians. I have all types of beings in my bloodline, but mostly knowledge keepers. So people who preserve the knowledge, people who kept sacred knowledge alive. And so over generations, over time, it was lost within my bloodline. And so I am here to reawaken this knowledge. So by me tapping more into these spiritual concepts and understanding these concepts, I am able to then express them to others and regurgitate them to my children as well. So after tapping into my people and gaining some understanding and some perspective, some perspective around, spirituality, the foundation of this realm, and enlightenment into how to kind of like take control of your own reality and how things are being perceived or how things are being received, and just really having perspective, because we all live in our own perceptions. We all have our own perceptions of everything, but perspective is the truth. And having perspective, a small glimpse, because it wasn't a large glimpse, it was a small glimpse into perspective, and understanding the principalities, like what is the makings of this reality, how it ties into the origin story, how religion has some truth, but there's a lot of illusion wrapped up into it, because they were ultimately trying to gatekeep the knowledge, and they felt as though if everybody had understanding of the knowledge, then most people would try to create their own perversions, which we live in now. So I wouldn't say that everyone who has perspective is of a darker vibration, a lower vibration, but I think that a lot of people who have controlled the perception are of a darker and a lower vibration, and they do not wish for those of us who are here to kind of break the illusion, the spell that we're all under, to do so. And so for me, where my role comes into this grand scheme, this big picture, is the Seraphic Divine Podcast. So Seraphic is aligned with purity. It is beauty. It is defined by, something of pure and divine essence, something of grace, something of eloquence, something that comes to you, that speaks to your soul on a more etheric level. So we know that there are 5 elements, but we do not consider the 6, which is rooted in a more causality, like a this is where all these elements come together, and now this is the one power manifesting in pure form. So that would be what we would call the seraphic. It is the one coming to you in its purest, most divine, most most elegant form, It's the most elegant form of divinity. So it's just pure. It's pure information. It's energy. It's a person that is me coming to you from an unbiased perspective. I don't hate anyone. I don't wish to call war upon anyone. I don't wish to diminish anyone's role in this lifetime, in this world, in this realm. Everybody has a role to play. Everybody is participating in some way, shape, or in form. But I am here to also bring the truth. So I am here to bring perspective to everyone and anyone who chooses to partake in this podcast. It is not exclusive to just Black people. It is not exclusive to just whites. It is not exclusive to just spiritual people. It's not exclusive to just people that are seeking to harness others' power. It's not exclusive to anyone but those who are seeking perspective. I am here to make the unseen seen. I want people to understand that not everything is what it seems to be, and that it is our job to interpret these illusions, these masks, these facades that have been placed upon us in order to maintain someone else's perversion. It's a very, it can be very complicated at times because some of the things that I may discuss are coming from a space of divine intervention. So it's not always going to be handwritten. It's not always going to be proven by fact because some of it is forecasting. So the same way meteorologists, they give you a forecast of the weather as a prediction based off of the way the system is set up. That is exactly what I will do as well. I will give you a forecast of what may be to come based off of the way the system is in place as of now, or as of that moment that a transmission is coming to me. A forecast is being relayed to me. Sometimes it will be hard facts that are being relayed to you, that are being given to you, that are being portrayed to you in order for you to receive the knowledge and the information and do what you see fit. It's not necessarily me trying to, a lot of what I'll be doing is maybe exposing some negative shit, maybe exposing some positive things, maybe coming to you with the information that you needed to put the piece together as to why your life is the way it is. This is all meant to bring healing because the main objective and what I'm seeing is that we need to release the past. A lot of people are living in past versions of themselves, who they used to be, who they could have been, what could have been, what was I doing in this life that I didn't take into account in the past life that I need to rehash in this life and conquer. And so a lot of it is about letting go of the past. And a lot of people are living in past realities in this new timeline. And so we're paying the consequence for their perversions because they're trying to become the ultimate magician that they weren't, or they failed to become in a past life. They're trying to live out a life that with their mother living to show her that this is who I can be now, but I didn't become when you were alive and you died in the past life. Like these are perversions. These are perverted realities that people keep creating that have access to the creation, that have access to the will of time, because people think that it's unattainable. But it's not. It's not unattainable. It is attainable. There are many different methodologies in order for one to acquire the knowledge in order to create your own reality. There are many different relics. And a lot of people think that they're grave robbing, they're grave digging because they're just wanting to rehash history. Absolutely not. They are digging these graves up because there are relics. There's information. A lot of people practice necromancy. So if I awaken you, I am entitled to ask you specific questions that you must answer. Now, whether you answer them blatantly or you answer them in riddles is a choice that the soul has. But if I call upon your spirit, essentially to some capacity, those spirits are being forced to answer these questions. And a lot of them have answered a lot of questions and have opened a lot of pathways and a lot of doors to different perversions for different people. Not everybody wants the same thing. And this is why they came together as a collective group. They came together as a collective group in order to further a cause of, if I get this, you get that. If you get this, you get that. We all get what we want, which is total domination over others' sovereignty, others' free will. Some people just want power. They were powerless in past lives. They just want power. Some people want riches. Some people want wealth. They want prosperity because in past lives, they weren't given the opportunity to access prosperity. And doing the hard work to gain it and living out a righteous life is not within their moral standard. They are spineless. So they don't do things that are respecting the natural law, the natural order. They go against it in order to attain the life and the vibration and the recognition that they seek. So my objective for the Divine Seraphic Podcast is to make the unseen seen as clear and as respectful and as pure as possible with unbiased. Because I feel like sometimes, as I am also living a human experience, I am not having a God experience in this realm. I am having a human experience. I have not been elevated to God status at this point in time. So I am still I'm still at the mercy of my emotions to some capacity. I still have feelings. So some things that come to the forefront, they expose the human in me because my soul is ancient, but I'm still in a human vessel. So when I feel certain emotions, it triggers those emotions. So when I reveal certain information, it triggers those emotions that were relevant in that lifetime, that this particular karmic situation actually occurred. Because what we're experiencing is ultimately a collapse of all realities into one. See, people think that the realities are separate, but it's not necessarily the case. We're having a conscious experience where all realities are available to you. You can choose what path you would like to take. It's up to you. But ultimately, it's a choice that you either make consciously with the proper information, or you make unconsciously through ignorance. And a lot of people move unconsciously through ignorance because ignorance is a state of bliss for them. And so it's just like, and sometimes we want to live in a state of ignorance because it allows us to continue to exist in realities with people that we want to maintain. So at one point in my life, I had so much opportunity ahead of me. I was like, before I even had a kid, I was from the age of 18 to 21. And I was finally out of high school. Okay. And I went to college for a year. And I realized that I really didn't know myself, because when I chose to go to college, I went to college off of the premise of what would make the most money. Not what I liked, not what I had interest in. I had no interest. I had no interest in anything, only other than partying and hanging out and just making money. Excuse me, that was my interest. I wanted to meet boys. I wanted to have fun, and I wanted to turn up. Okay? That was it. That was all I wanted to do, because my whole life I had to be responsible. I had to be my own not caretaker or provider. I had to be my own caretaker. I was not my own provider. My mom provided for me. My dad died when I was 10, but my mom was very much in a provider role as a woman. So there was no nurture in house. There was no nurturing. There was no one to nurture or to awaken my feminine energy. I was constantly in a state of masculine and distorted masculine energy. And all I could focus on, because that's all I saw, was money. I never seen anyone take heed to a creative pursuit. No one in my family, no brother, sister of mine that I was directly connected to that was my mother's child graduated from college. None of us did. We all went down paths of destruction until we found paths that allowed us to survive. And they won't, most people won't tell you that they were destructive in their own path, but they were. We all were destructive in our own way. And we all tried, but I think that we were meant we were meant to go down a different route in order to show people that you don't have to pursue the stereotypical college route in order to be successful. And it may not come when you think it should. It may come when it's necessary, when you are ready, when you have had enough life experiences for it to be available to you. You understand what I'm saying? Like, everybody's not living the same life. We're all under the same premise, but we're not living and having the same experience. And this is where perception comes into play, because with more knowledge, more understanding, more information, the difference in understanding, the difference in perspective is what shapes our perception. So my truth is not your truth, because my truth is relative to my experience. So I can't tell you that your perception is fucked up, but I can also tell you that I don't have the same one. But I can tell you that if we were to actually look at the world and really acknowledge that we're all living in a simulation that's producing the same results, and you went to college, we're all living in a simulation that's producing the same results, then you'll have a perspective shift where you'll start to acknowledge that it didn't matter if I went to college or not, I was still going to become a cog in the wheel, regardless. So this is what I mean by, from 18 to 21, I had a lot of options. I could have went back to school. I chose not to. I could have went, and when I went to school to get the extra money that came along with the refund check. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, a lot of people would sit up here and be like, I was trying my best to graduate from college, and I couldn't. Life was stacked against me. Life was not stacked against me. At that point in my life, I just did not give a fuck, because I had no nurturing. I was not nurtured as a child. I was not nurtured. No, anything I did out of sheer curiosity. I never did it because I actually wanted to pursue it. I just did it because sometimes I needed something to do. And so, because I had friends that were interested or that were involved in certain things, out of sheer curiosity, I took heed to it too. Like, I liked playing softball, but I could have did without it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I liked modeling, but I could have did without it. I liked playing basketball, but I didn't give a fuck. Only thing I would say that I actually enjoyed was track. I actually enjoyed track. It made me feel, as I actually put effort into losing weight and doing it, even when nobody was looking, even when my coach wasn't around, I was still doing it. So that's how I know that it made me feel accomplished. It made me feel, and it was a sense of camaraderie with track. Like, it was no animosity. It was not a competition. It was pure love. Like, it was just a genuine love there. And it felt really good. And so I genuinely like track. If I had joined track in 9th grade like I wanted to join track, but it was this girl that ran track. And so the only thing that I actually liked, like, in high school was everything I liked, I was dissuaded from because I didn't like the people there. So, like, I wanted to be a part of mock trial, and I didn't want to do it because of certain people that were a part of it. They got on my nerves. Like, it was just like a bad energy, and I didn't, you know how you want to try something and you know you have the capacity to do it and excel at it, but because of certain personalities, you'll constantly clash. So for me, I always ran away from things that I knew I wouldn't feel comfortable doing. Like, I'm not going to force myself in rooms. Like, I don't do that. Like, that's just not my energy. So like, if I don't feel at peace with a certain energy and a certain person, I don't force it. I completely allow the universe to play out what's meant for me and not what's not. And like, I like track. I liked I wanted to be a part of mock trial. I didn't, but like I said, I didn't run track in ninth grade, which I should have started in ninth grade because I probably would have been able to go to school for free. Excuse me. I didn't because there was this girl and she was a fucking bully and she just didn't like me because I was dating a 12th grader. And I was like, I don't want to be on her track team because she was a 12th grader. So I didn't want to be on a track team where she had rank and then I would be pushed around and bossed around by her. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, nah. When I seen she was there, I was like, oh, hell no. Hell no. I hated her. I hated her guts. She hated me because I was dating a 12th grader. And she was like, how did they even fucking meet? And I was like, girl, through a fucking somebody else. Like, what's it to you? Like, all of the 12th graders had a very high animosity towards me because I was dating this particular person. And to me, he was champ. Like, he was basic. Like, he wasn't like, he's a good person. He has a good heart. But like, he wasn't like the finest nigga at the school. Like, maybe he was to them. Maybe he was to them. And so to me, it was just a normal relationship. I didn't feel like I was dating the most popular guy at the school. I felt like I was dating an average Joe. But in reality, his aura was probably more prominent than most of the popular guys at school. So, I don't know what it was, but it was a lot of like animosity. A lot of people did not like me and him together. So it was just like, okay, whatever. And so I don't think I wanted to be a cheerleader, but we didn't have like step team at my school. So like, I don't know, the things that I wanted to do, there really wasn't any expression for it. I wanted to sing and there wasn't like a choir until like I joined in like 12th grade and I joined it. And some days I went, some days I didn't go because I was too busy living my best life. Out hanging out with my friends. I really was just at school for fellowship because when it came to knowledge, like, it wasn't hard for me to retain knowledge. So whatever I learned in class, I retained all of it. As long as it was pronunciated and given in a way where I could retain it, I engaged enough so that I could receive the information, I would retain it like that. Like, it's because I have a Mercury in Virgo, it's not hard for me to retain knowledge. It's not hard for me to access knowledge because also my Mercury is in my 12th house. So hidden knowledge and unseen is my specialty. My brain functions in capacities I sometimes don't even understand. I can't even fathom because it's going into realms that I, in this human form, don't necessarily always grasp in a competent way, which is why I decided to pick the name Seraphic Divine Podcast, because it's beyond me. A lot of the time it's beyond me. It's beyond me. I'm just a vessel. I'm just a messenger. That's it. So basically what I'm saying is like all the things that have interested me have eluded me. I am constantly evolving. I'm constantly shifting. And even at this point in my life, with the lunar eclipse happening on Sunday night, there is another shift happening. Like, I am at a space where, and I'm going to be a completely authentic and completely honest with everyone on my podcast. I have been in an interim space. So I quit my job in August to pursue my spiritual path indefinitely. Like, I will not be going back to a job. I will not be pursuing a career in any shape or form that applies to a 9 to 5. It is not for me. That is not my destined path. Okay. So when I quit, I had debts. And I had debts centered around responsibilities that tied to me accepting my straw man. And we will go in depth into these things over time because they play a vital factor. They play a vital role, but they're a large factor into why we live in this, why we have become cogs in a wheel. But I accepted my straw man back when I was 18, when I was in college. And I accrued debts by way of college. So by me accepting my straw man and me not having knowledge that this shadow government existed, I became a debtor. So now I carry the debt of all bills that I have accrued, which actually is the responsibility of the United States of America federal government. It's not my responsibility to pay these bills because there is a trust in my name that is tied into the Federal Reserve Act, okay? That goes back to the global trust of Britain, that goes back to what's it called? Goes back to the Vatican and DC. So this all goes back into a different space, a different time, centuries ago, when treaties that us indigenous American people signed with Britain got usurped by the colonials that came here to slaughter and take our land. They made their own treaties with their king, okay? And their ruler in their homelands, okay? So we became property. We were collateral. We became collateral to, the global trust bank. We became collateral, and ultimately this is how we became slaves. We were not physical slaves. We were property. We were seized property, technically. So they did what they wanted with us. They used us at their discretion, and we had to enter into single contracts with them around our servitude, because originally they were working for us because we had treaties with Britain. And this was a way for Britain to break treaty with us in order to gain land that they knew we would never give up freely. We would never give that land to them ever. Freely, willingly, unwillingly, we would never give the land away. So they fucked us out of land in order for us to become property. And now, because of contracts that are binding not only in a physical sense, they're also binding spiritually. So now they put contracts on us spiritually and physically that we had to abide by, because land, they did not only take over the ownership of the land, they took over ownership of the sea and the air. And what people attribute to the air is essentially helicopters and planes, but air is your beliefs. Okay, air has to do with your spirit, your soul, the concept of God. They took ownership of this under contract. This is why I say double speaking is the biggest issue, because they say one thing and it correlates to another. And that's why they always tell you to read the fine print, because the fine print is where the truth lies. Okay? Is where the truth lies. So just understanding that how English is worded, there are truths in the lies, but a lot of the lies are the facade they put up with constitutions, and because there's many of them. There's many variations of this that serve specific class and specific groups of people. So until you understand that, you don't understand why you are in a cog in the wheel. You are just a part of the machine that they call the government, the federal government. We don't have sovereignty, but I practice spiritually saying that I am sovereign, because I detach. I am in the process of detaching from that machine. So this is why I say, like, this podcast really is for those people looking for sovereignty, those people looking for autonomy, those people looking for knowledge to take back their free will from a system that has been created to give us the illusion of inclusion, when in actuality you are just a spinning wheel in the fucking mechanics of it all. And yeah. So as we continue to go on, there will be much information given, different various topics, but mostly things that a lot of people don't have privy to. I'm going to try my best to do as much research as possible. And I'm not always going to get everything right. Like everybody is so, and this is something that I try to practice in my day-to-day life, is being not trying to play the role of God. I'm not your God. I'm not here to tell you that what you think is wrong is right and what you think is right is wrong. I'm here to give you the ability to perceive the world for yourself, to take back perspective and not just live in a perception. Okay? I don't care if you don't agree. I don't care if you like me. I don't care if you are for the other side, if you're working for the man. That is a personal choice. It does not change the fact that my purpose here on this realm is to bring knowledge that others cannot physically, verbally, mentally, spiritually see for themselves, and for them to have this information and access to this information and have the right to choose. That's it. Okay, so I'm signing out. I feel like this is a very informative and enlightening first episode, and I hope that you guys come back. Okay. Mwah.